Hello, my beautiful people. It has been a very long time since we have been together on a video, but welcome to da 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 homework help. This is the pilot episode of homework help, the preface, if you will. I will be in this corner, and it will not matter that I don't have extremely fantastic lighting because this right here, my friends, is the meat and potatoes. Now you may be looking at me and say, Crystal, what's going on here, sis? There's a whole presentation mode that you could be in right now and do all the stuff and things. Well, let me tell you something, friends. Your girl is very tech savvy, but it was not working for me. Not in the sense of like it wasn't working, like user error. Like I didn't like it. I didn't like how things were moving. I like it this way. So you will see my very fancy notes, and it will actually help you in case you don't understand what I'm saying. This is a pilot episode, like I said. So there are going to be some bumps and lumps in the process. I know that. We're not going to focus on them. What we are going to focus on is the topic of the day, and we are going to focus on today's to-dos. But before I get into that, I do want to mention, even though it is written here, these videos are for those that are ages 16 and up. The content that we are writing is not for children. I love y'all. I love the babies. I'm not personally writing for them. So the things that I'm going to be going over are not suitable for children. And I feel like those that are over the age of 16 are 3 steps away from being adults anyway. So I just want that to be known. Also, there will be a possibility about background noise just because we will be watching some videos later. And I noticed when I did a test earlier that if I lowered the fantastic automatic background noise canceller thing, it takes away from you being able to hear the sound. So if you hear a bump and a lump there, like I said, we are not aiming for perfection. This is a peer study. This is a safe space. And this is today's to-dos. So we're going to start with a little intro, set some expectations. We're going to talk a little bit about writing romance. We're not going to get into every single nuance of it, but just a little bit before we get into the main topic of today, which is love versus lust. And yes, I put this in February because it is the month of love. It is Black History Month. It is all the wonderful, fantastic things and the shortest month of the year. So we are going to dive headfirst into that. Then we're going to talk about our take-home exercise, and then we're going to wrap her up. So who am I? I am Crystal. I am Crystal Cabaret. I am going to be your peer review instructor, whatever you would like to call me, mentor, big sis, whatever. This is my bio. Feel free to peruse at your leisure. But the things that I'm going to introduce to you today are about me anyway, is that I have a lot of goofy expressions. There's a reason why I'm a little box in the corner. Do your best not to focus on me, but on the content that I am giving, because you will get a lot of this, a lot of that. Also, I am not omnipotent. I will mispronounce things. I will get a little tongue-tied, as you've already seen. This is 100% outside of my comfort zone because for those that know me, I am the writer. I obviously wrote this entire thingamajig here. And talking is new. So hence the pilot before we really get all situated and started in March. But anyway, expectations, let's set some because for all the information that we are going to be learning today, the things that we are not going to be doing is getting all technical in the weeds of grammar and how to write and things that you may or may not have learned in English class. We are going to be going over the highlights of certain topics. We are going to have real world examples. Yes, there will be spoilers in those real world examples. And hopefully through that, we will be able to decipher some tips that you can use before we get to the actual homework essentially. But there will be personal experiences thrown in here. You will understand the essence of things rather than saying, all right, this is the cookie cutter 5-step process of how to do things. So let's just dive in to my favorite topic, writing romance. I am, I could go on and on about the nuances of romance. We are going to focus on these 5 topics, essentially. The bottom 3 are essentially one topic, but live with me here. So, how old are the main characters? That's what MC stands for, if you didn't know. The heat levels between them, and we will dive into that topic in a little bit. And then the XP or experience level of romance, sensuality, and sex between the main characters, whether it's through one person's perspective or 2 or 6 or how many other people you got in your book. You need to know these basic things to be able to get to the core of the romance in your story. And we are going to have some help from people who already exist in the world and have excelled at romance. So we are going to use these fine couples, and we are going to get to know them a little better. So we're going to first talk about Momo and Okarun. Oh my gosh, I love them. The babies. They are 15, 16 years old. Then we have Levi and Gajil. Oh, by the way, this is from Dandadan. They're from Fairy Tale. Levi and Gajil. Yes, we're going to get a little fangirly. It's okay. It's okay. But I will contain myself. But we have Wade and Ember. And the reason why I chose these characters is not only because I love them so much. Honestly, they're the perfect examples of how we're going to talk about the heat levels and the intimacy levels and the experience between the characters and their ages. Because notice that someone's mindset when they're 15 is very different than when they're 26. They have a lot of different things that they have lived in life. That is almost a 10-year gap, 11-year gap, excuse me. I can count. That is a 10, 11-year-old gap. A lot of things happen in that time frame, right? So when we are talking about things like heat levels, there are 2 things that we have to balance, essentially. 2 things that we have to keep in mind. We have to keep in mind the character's age. How old are they? What is like their mentality? Are they like little babies, middle school, high school? Are they about to be like seniors about to go into college? Are they more mature in the, like, do they have a job? Like, do they have kids? Because, you don't have to necessarily have fallen in love first to have kids. But then you have the content. How are you delivering this? What kind of, moments are these characters having? And that all comes down to who are you telling the story for, or your target audience? What are the boundaries that are being set, like at the jump of this story? Like, are we diving into something that has, more cutesy and fluffy kind of moments, like hand holding and oh my gosh, he looked at me kind of moments? Or are we like the very first chapter just immediately diving into the middle of someone's legs? Like, it is very important what kind of boundaries you are trying to set at the beginning, because then it also leads to how much spiciness are you going to give. Again, you can build up from meeting and holding hands to having a first kiss to having sex to getting married. Or you can have extreme, hot, passionate sex like the first chapter, and then, that is just like the kind of theme that we go on as they try to fall in love and get past the sex. There's a lot of different ways we could go with this. And that also comes from intimacy dynamics, because if, again, you have someone that is 13 years old, how intimate are you expecting them to get? How experienced is this 13-year-old? You feel me? So it all depends on how you write it, what the details that you bring to the table have to deal with the story you're trying to tell. And that makes it go from a cute story to a hot story. So we're going to dive into these kind of levels because, yes, we talked about the target audience for like all of 5 seconds. And it is very important to know who you're writing for, because if you are writing again for 13-year-olds, you have to really draw the line as to what they're going to do or what they're going to see the characters do if the characters are a little bit older, rather than writing a smut novel. So it all comes down to what kind of story you're trying to tell, but it also has to deal with the characters themselves. At this point, let's assume that you have a really good grasp on your characters, and that's why we have these guys to get us to that journey. Because we're going to start off slow and then kick it up. Because these levels of experience that your character has with romance, sensuality, and sex are going to give you the ideas of what kind of boundaries you're setting, how intimate are we getting, how spicy are we getting. And I rated these based on my experience with these characters through visuals, like anime and movies, and through their written work, i.e. the script or the manga. So, you would say that my judgment is pretty spot on. But what does this even mean? Romance. Romance being the flowers, the chivalry, the flowery aspects of things, right? Then you have sensuality. Sensuality is more of touch, of feeling, of, you could also say intimacy, because some people do not like being touched. Some people do not like being hugged. To get someone to kiss someone else could be a literal, like, the main plot point of a story. But then you have sex, and sex kind of like just like takes the sensuality and goes. Phew. So in my humble opinion, when we're talking about writing romance, sex shouldn't even be on the table. Sex shouldn't be a category. It is. Shout out to my smut lovers. But follow me on this for a second. We're going to focus on romance and sensuality so we can make the sex, if we have sex in our story, meaningful. So what are we getting into here? Okay, we talked about Dandadan's Momo and Okarun, and we gave them an 8 out of 10 out of romance, but a 4 out of 10 out of sensuality. Why? Well, they have a brilliant way of blending first love awkwardness with the truth of like the physiques of sexuality, with the awkwardness of growing up. Like, look, when they draw the adults, oh my God, they draw the adults. When they draw the kids, look at them, they look like little beans, little beanie babies. And they're not afraid to play with the fact that this might feel like there is a line being crossed because these kids are only 15, 16 years old, but they are having these supernatural experiences that force them to kind of break the normal boundaries that they would have in life. They have awkward moments that can be sensual. Like if you look at this panel right here, this is a tender moment, but look at his face. Like his face is not like lewd. He is embarrassed. He is trying to, like, it is awkward. It is awkward. Even if he is like happy that she is this close, it is awkward. It is awkward. There is nothing that it's like, oh my gosh, reel me in. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about because you've not watched Dandadan, well, on to the examples, my friends, because hello, on to the examples, because I could talk all day about things, but until you see what I'm talking about, you will not get a full grasp. And I hope that this, even though it is the dubbed version of this scene, shout out to the dubbers. I'm a subber, but digressing. I want you to be able to understand it without having to read subtitles. That's the reason I chose it this way. But I want you to focus on how they're playing with the romantic levels versus the intimacy levels versus the way that they are telling both of these kind of aspects. Let me just show you.
What do you mean you don't care?
I don't, and that's that. How about you explain what you were doing? Out back with her during lunch?
Oh, Miss Shiratori tried to kiss me all of a sudden.
Huh?
It's true. Then we struggled and we fell, and then you saw us.
Really? What were you doing back there in the first place? Come on, spill it.
I was working out, push-ups and stuff.
For real?
I wanted to get stronger.
If that's all you were doing, why keep it a secret?
Well, if you saw I got stronger suddenly, I'd look cooler for it.
That's hilarious. To think you got a weird vein side.
Of course I have. It's not weird. I'm a guy. I just wanted you to think I was cool.
You did, huh? Come on, let's see your little face.
Don't go making fun of me. It's so annoying when you do that.
Too bad. How come you wanted me to think you're cool?
I told you, I'm a guy. That's how come.
There's no other reason, just the fact that you're a guy.
Just drop it, will you? Stop teasing me. I'm going back to class, and I'm not gonna say anything that makes you look bad.
Okaroon.
Huh?
How dare they put these here?
We found you!
Okay, so I'm a little disappointed that these popped up on top of it. I guess maybe if I had full screened it, they wouldn't have been directly all over their eyes. But the point that I was trying to make with that video was that they clearly have awkward moments, but the way that they look at each other, the blush, the silence that they give between what they are trying to say versus what they don't want to say out loud, those give you the level of romance that most people are fiending for when they pick up romance, whether it's a novel, a story, whatever format you have. That's what they're looking for. And notice how they tested the boundaries of how close they were. And the spice levels were getting there until they were interrupted. Their intimacy was more of silence, like they would like push each other's shoulders, but that was not like, you know, oh my gosh, they touched each other kind of thing. It was more intimate when they were apart, like physically apart. So that's one way that you can approach writing romance. What if you really want to you want them to feel it, you want them to go, oh, like the entire moment that you were sharing this, because to have that, the entire story would be impressive, but like the more nuanced moments of romance, the adultier romance moments that you know that you have bigger problems, like let's talk about them for a second. Like I said, 22 and 27, this one has a job, and the entire story literally focuses on said job, on her problems with her expectations versus what she wants to do in her life. She doesn't care about, she's not going to school. She ain't worried about boys. She ain't worried about none of that crap. She's over here trying to keep her life together. This dude over here works at like some government job. Like, these aren't kids. They're adults. They have adult problems. So their experience with life is going to be very different than how we just saw with these two clowns. And the level of awkwardness and first time going on a date is going to be less watery with these two Pardon my phrase. But because they're older, they don't have time for drama. They don't have time for but there's still going to be awkwardness. There's still going to be that buildup that makes the pinnacle of their relationship, the climax of their relationship, worth it. So with this one, and I will put it full screen, just to see if the little boxes aren't in the way. But something that I would like for you to notice with them is how they are testing boundaries that are more intimate than we would give them credit for, if that makes sense. Like, to give you some context in this, because I didn't give context to the last one because I just kind of wanted to throw you in there to Dandadan. But to give you the context, this is literally the middle of a whole movie. They are elements that are literal polar opposites. They can't physically contact each other. And that has been a theme that has been underlying this entire time in this story. So this moment here is like the summary of all of the moments that came before this. So this would technically be a climactic moment. Play. No? Hello? Here we go.
No. Wade, we can't touch.
Maybe we can.
No.
But can't we just prove it?
Prove what?
Let's see what happens. And if it's a disaster, then we'll know this would never work.
But it actually could be a disaster. I could vaporize you. You could extinguish me. And then...
Let's start small. I'm so lucky.
I'm so lucky I have you. I have to go.
Wait, what? Where are you going?
Back to my life at the shop, where I belong. I take over tomorrow.
Whoa, hold up. You don't want that. You said so yourself.
It doesn't matter what I want.
Of course it does. Listen. You've got an opportunity to do something you want with your life.
Want? Yeah, that may work in your rich kid follow your heart family, but getting to do what you want is a luxury, and not for people like me.
Why not? Just tell your father how you feel. This is too important. Maybe he'll agree.
Oh, yeah.
Funny. This whole time I thought you were so strong, but turns out you're just afraid.
Don't you dare judge me.
You don't know what it's like to have parents who gave up everything for you. I'm fire, Wade. I can't be anything more than that. It's what I am and what my family is. It's our way of life. I cannot throw all of that away just for you.
I don't understand.
And that alone is a reason this could never work. It's over, Wade.
Soul. That was obviously very different than these two. They have big people problems, man. They have a life to live. They're not over here worried about no little romance. Like, she was very set on that. She, like, not playing around at all. But you can still feel the love that was between them. Like, the boundaries were already set from the jump of the scene. We can't touch. And he was like, maybe we can. And then they did. And something that we would consider so simple, hand holding, first dance, a hug, like, they might as well have made it like it was the kiss at their wedding. Like, the impact that your characters have based on the boundaries that are in their world, and as well as them individually as a person, are very important to think about. Because you start off with a story that is all goofy and extra in this. You can get to this level of intimacy. But then you have these two. And notice they get a 6 and a 4 because, Lord of mercy, these two break boundaries, okay? For those that do not know them, they are from Fairy Tale, and they are canonly going out and having a kid. Canon. And for those that don't know what canon means, that means that is what the writer intended for the story itself. That is not fan-made. That is not a hope and a dream and a wish and a prayer. That is true fact. We don't know if these two end up going off and having kids and little fire water babies. These two are still in the midst of their own dramas and barely have even, like, held hands. So these two have a level that is immediately established when they first meet. And one of the aspects that come with writing romance, at least in my opinion, is that you're establishing scene with the characters that you are trying to put together is going to establish their relationship for the rest of the show. And what do I mean by this? Again, spoiler alert. I don't have a picture of it, which I should have put on there because I love the fan fiction. Shout out to all of those that draw these. Thank you so much for your contributions to life. But the very first experience with these two characters is he kidnaps her. Gajil kidnaps Levy and the other two members of her squad and pins them to a tree in the town square. Maybe it was a pillar. Either way, I think it was a tree. And as like a declaration of war from his guild to her guild. It had nothing to do with her directly, but he captured her. He said, that one, I want to pin that one to a tree. And they are one of the top relationships that grow in Fairy Tale, aside from, like, the obvious. Because I'm not about to get into it, Fairy Tale fans. I'm not. We're trying to talk about romance writing, not Fairy Tale 101. Sorry, that was bothering me. But the point that I'm trying to make with them is that they break the bounds of sensuality in the fandom, in the actual show. Like, they're one of the few characters that actually kiss, that have a lot of physical contact, that have established sexual contact, because it, like I said, it is canon that they are having a kid. There's only one way to make a kid. So the way that they establish these boundaries is not in a way that it's like, oh my gosh, get a room, you two. There can be moments that may not be full on Wade and Ember with the whole hand holding, breaking boundaries and breaking levels kind of thing. But you can find a moment that is truthful, because that's the other thing that you want to think about when you're talking about intimacy and sensuality and breaking the boundaries that characters have with each other, because these are already established things. If your character met for the first time, they would probably be very awkward, like Momo and Okorun. If they were on their 15th date and they were about to have their first kiss, they would probably look more like Ember and Wade. But these two have been going out for at least a decade at this point. They have gone through the world together, and this is what the result is of being at that level.
バジル帰ってるもうバカバジルこんなとこで寝て散らかしっぱなしだしいくら仕事で忙しいからって傷また増えてるちょっと仕事入れすぎじゃないこの前の傷も治ってないし
ああかすり傷だよこんなもんなんだ一丁前に心配か弱えくせに
何よ人がせっかく
あああれだ稼がねえとな生まれてくるガキの分までよ帰ったぞやれやれ風邪をひくぞ楽しみだな家族が増えるのが
So these characters are younger than Wade and Ember, but they still have their own problems. You know, they have a whole life that they have lived. They are hunters and they are warriors. They have big life magical changing problems. I'm trying to stay on task, guys. Sorry. But they still have time for these intimate moments that show you that it's like they are worried about life problems, but even a character that is as macho and, you know, kind of rough as Gajio can still have a moment and be like, I gotta work hard because I got a kid on the way. I got like a whole wife here. Like things like that really add details. Like she was looking at his scars on his body, like noticing that there's more scars on his body. Those are more intimate moments that you only get from being with someone for a while. If you just met them, you don't know how many scars are on their body. But the longer that you stay with someone and you establish the connection between each other and you get to explore each other, then the more you can play with that throughout your story, if that makes sense. So on that same vein, let's get into lust versus love, because it is my second favorite topic. I think writing romance is probably a little bit more fun, but I'm going to say this right now. Lust and love are very different. And I mean that from a writing perspective and from a feeling perspective. They both have things that are similar. Yes. You'll feel the bubbles, the heat, the attraction, the desires, all the things. But there are very specific details that set them apart. And I will be continuing to use these because why would we use the other two? The other two right now are retired couples. We are not about to get all sexy with Ember and Wade, and we are definitely not about to get sexy with underage children that need to get their life together and maybe come back from break. Shout out to the Dandadan writers that are actually taking a well-deserved break, and I hope that they are well rested and ready to come back and deliver the next chapter. But lust versus love. What's it about? Lust. It's quick. It's hot. It can happen anywhere. It is the spiciness of most smut. It is why it is called smut, because lust is that initial attraction that makes things stir below the belt buckle. You feel me? Like there are a lot of moments that lust can bring that don't have to be romantic. It's literally like take off your pants and do me now kind of things. Maybe a little more elegantly than that. But it can also come out of anger. It can also come out of a place of fear. It can come out of a place of desire. It could come out of a place of revenge. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, which is a little gross to say, but it's true. And I only bring this up because there are some pieces that I've read or seen or whatever that they just have the elements of sex and they don't have an intimate moment. They don't have that depth that comes with love. Because love, oh, love is better than lust, let me tell you. It has a level of respect and trust. And yes, I will keep repeating that boundaries and intimacy and spiciness are the nuances that bring about love that kind of topples lust onto the ground, is because when you have the ability to take your time and really discover someone, it gives you a whole different level to play with as a writer. Never mind a person. We ain't getting all personal here, but when you are writing and you have to explain how like their hand is feeling against skin, like what part are they touching? How much pressure are they putting? Are they gripping? Are they like a feather touch or whatever? What does it feel like to have them on your neck versus your chest versus your leg? Those kind of intimate connections can actually grow because if you have love for someone, I would hope that you would have respect for them. I would hope that you would want to trace every inch of their body with your own skin. You would want to build those levels and bring the fantasies that you've been having in your mind to a reality. Those are the expectations that we expect our characters to have. When I say you, this is a very late statement, but I just thought of it. When I say you can take it as you, the writer, writing this for your character, or you can take this as you, the character that you are writing, seeing through their perspective. And I say you because I write through first person. Anything that I tell my characters, I'm like, you are doing this. And having an idea of what they like, what they don't like, what they're willing to tolerate, that is what builds a love story. Because if you have characters that are polar opposites, right, then they are going to take the best and the worst parts of each other, and sometimes they're going to clash because opposites will bring out the best and the worst of the other person. So being able to establish all those things, how? That becomes the question. You're trying to establish all that. How do you do it? The language that you use, the details that you use, and the depth that you are willing to go is the simplest answer. And yes, we brought our other characters back because we weren't going to leave them in the lurch. But the fine line between lust and love is technically what teeters on the spicy level, I guess, like how deep are you willing to go? But the use of language also is important because if you literally say something like they went into the room, closed the door, stripped off the pants and started going at it, it's very different than he closed the door, I felt my heart beating and his breath was whispering against my neck kind of thing. Very different. The amount of detail that you're willing to give in the moments that I'm going to call intimate moments that aren't necessarily sex, you know, like when someone says, I love you for the first time, when someone is abnormally close to someone, like they're normally not face to face, they're normally not touching shoulders. Those little details are going to ignite something in your character. It's very different if you are on your first date and you're trying to hold hands than if you are established for 5 years and you're trying to figure out how you guys are going to get it in when you're camping in a group in the woods. Like, it very different dynamics, you feel me? So the depth that you are willing to go with a character also ties into the story that you're willing to tell. And let me tell you something. If you aren't flustered when you are writing romance, what are you writing? Because I know that in our society, romance is seen as cute hand-holding, a special kiss, breaking up, resolving the issue, and then somehow getting married or, running off in the sunset or whatever the case entails. Sometimes there is cheating involved. Sometimes there is kidnapping involved. This is the things that we associate with love that just don't make no sense to me. The things that we have talked about today may sound like I'm just talking about smut. I'm only talking to my smut users. But if you are writing a wholesome novel, right, about two kids falling in love, the details that you use when they're holding hands for the first time is going to sound like they are stripping off their clothes because it is wholesome and they have never really gotten to that level. If you are writing smut, though, this hand-holding is probably going to take a whole different turn into something very quickly. So it doesn't necessarily matter which level of heat you're writing for or which age bracket you're writing for when you are trying to establish intimacy and the boundaries that are being played with. And we're going to take a different kind of approach to observing this. We observed it through our favorite characters. Now we're going to observe it through music because I love music, okay? And I feel like songs are a great way to get information across that can't really be stated. It has to be sung. And that may just be the music theater person in me, but that is perfectly fine. So what are we aiming for with these songs? We are going to hear one that is pure lust, one that is pure love, and one that represents both. And it's not only about the words that are being said, but about the tempo, about the instruments, the kind of melody that is being used, the visuals, because I love me some visuals, guys. So I made sure to go out of my way to pick some examples that it wasn't just listen to a song, close your eyes. Like, really focus on what would make up love, what would make up lust, and what would make up a combination of both. They're very obvious, it's not a brain game, but this should be something that you think about when you're writing your scenes because it's tangible. Music is tangible. You feel, I don't know why every time I want to go to Wade and Ember, they're like on a white screen, but it's fine. It is a tangible thing that you want to portray as much as possible. And there's only so much you can write about. There's only so many different ways you can write something. But if you have a really good grasp on your characters and the journey that they're going through as they are falling in love, as they are letting down their guard a little bit, as they are expanding on those boundaries, toying with the boundaries in themselves is like a whole blah. But if you have a good grasp on it, then you will be able to connect with your readers the way that these 3 moments that I'm about to show you have connected, at least with me. So I hope they connect with you as well, because we're just going to go back to back to back. I'm not going to talk that much. If it wants to play. Okay, sorry.
Started out on a one-way train. Always knew where I was gonna go next. Didn't know until I saw your face. I was missing out on every moment. You'll be one and baby, I'll be two. Would you mind it if I said I'm into you? So if it's real, together. You're the sky, I'll be the weather. A pretty thing, the sun and rain. Oh no, oh yeah. Summer night, perfect occasion. Where am I? You know I'll be waiting for you. For you. So if it's real, then darling, let me know.
Who is this guy?
Would it mind if you steal the show? So if it's real, then darling, let me know. Would it mind if you steal the show? You shine like forever, last forever. You shine, and still shine.
How'd you do that?
It's the minerals. Check this out.
Awesome! Watch this!
So, as you notice, this came directly from the movie. This wasn't like a fan made thing. This wasn't like the music video they make for the song. Like this came directly from the movie. And the way that he looks at her, the way that they portray the buildup of their love to then lead to that scene that we saw earlier when they actually touched and held hands and danced and all that. That is the kind of detail that we are aiming for when we are talking about love and talking about connection with the characters. Now, next two actually come from the musical epic. These are animatics, so it's not a completed animation as we have seen with Elemental and Wade and Ember's relationship. If you have not seen the musical epic yet, and this is a big spoiler for you, well, you might want to fast forward, I guess, because we're diving into it, and it's very obvious which one this is just by the first panel. So I'm just gonna let them take it away. But again, keep an eye out for the details that they use with hand placement, with the music that is in the background, the tempo. Keep all these details in mind while you are watching these, because it is super important and will give you little nuggets to use later on when you are writing. So, all right, and it went big screen. Look at that. We're doing it. If it wants to play, maybe, I don't know. There's your warning.
There are other ways of persuasion. There are other modes of control. There are other means of deceit. There are other roads to the soul. There are other actions of passion. You have so much left to learn. Want to save your men from the fire. Show me that you're willing to burn.
Used to say without mistakes I've made,
Don't be afraid.
be the
Think
last
of
mistakes I
your
ever
past.
made.
Don't break them. There is so much power, so much power, but there's no puppets here. This is the price we pay love. There is no line, never enough. So much power, but there's no puppet here.
I can't. everything, my Penelope. And she's all my power, but it's been 12 long years, oh, 12 long years since I have seen my wife. And now the god of tides is out to end my life. So I beg you, Circe, grant us mercy and let us puppets leave.
Poseidon, eh? There might be a way to evade him. There might be a way to get home. Though this other way's very dangerous, it might be your one final hope. I know of a brilliant prophet. Problem is this prophet is dead. I can't get you home, but I'll get you to the underworld instead. I'll release your men and I'll get you to the underworld instead.
Wait, you're helping us?
There are many ways of persuasion. There are many modes of control. Maybe showing one act of kindness leads to kinder souls down the road. I remember actions of passion. I have been in love once before. Maybe one day the world will need a puppeteer no more. Or maybe one day the world will need a puppeteer. So much power, there's no Tell me that you're willing to burn.
This was obviously a very different vibe. Having the start of it being lust and then finding some empathy in there to make it more of like an alliance, a friendship, a camaraderie, if you will. But you can see the different elements that made it very different from cute, so many different dates. This one just went hand holding. Yeah, we taking this a little further than hand holding, you feel me? But what happens when you tie the two together? Now, I'm gonna warn you now, this is a 5 and some change minute song. It is worth every drop that you will have when you were watching this. But if I said that this was the standard of romance that everyone should try to emanate into their work, that would be a very strong statement. But it is low-key what I'm saying. I don't know. I mean, I do know exactly the specifics as to why this is so impactful, at least to me. But I want you to have your own take on it. I'm not going to say anything further other than this is the last song in the musical. So it's a humdinger. I'll tell you that much.
Penelope.
Is it you? Have my prayers been answered? Is it really you standing there? Or am I dreaming once more? You look different. Your eyes look tired. Your frame is lighter. Your smile torn. Is it really you, my love?
I am not the man you fell in love with. I am not the man you once adored. I am not your kind and gentle husband. And I am not the love you knew before. bread on every island. As I traded friends like objects I could use. Hurt more lives than I can count on my hands. But all of that was to bring me back to you. So tell me, would you fall in love with me again if you knew all I've done, the things I can't undo? I am not the man you knew. I know that you've been waiting.
If that's true, could you do me a favor? Just a moment of labor that would bring me some peace. See that wedding bed? Could you carry it over? Lift it high on your shoulders and take it far away from here.
How could you say this? I had built that wedding bed with my blood and sweat. Carved it into the olive tree where we first met. A symbol of our love everlasting. Do you realize what you have asked me? The only way to move it is to cut it from its roots.
Only my husband knew that, so I guess that makes him you.
Penelope.
I will fall in love with you over and over again. I don't care how or when, no matter how long it's been, you're mine. Don't tell me you're not the same person. You're always my husband, and I've been waiting,
Penelope.
How long has it been?
20 years.
I love you.
Ah, ah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Enough said. I don't even gotta say anything. What are we taking home? What are we taking home from all this talking, all this watching, all this stuff? If you are not writing a story, make one up. You're a writer. Whether you think you are or not, I'm telling you today, you are a writer. So make up a couple if you don't got one, but pick a couple that you're writing about and write about the individual features of one character from another character's perspective. So what the heck does that look like? Wade stared at Ember. He noticed the flecks of purple that outlined the edges of her fire when she's angry. If you want to do it from first person, it would be like, I stared at Ember and noticed the flecks of purple outlining the edges of her fire. She always gets like that when she's angry. Play with it, muddle it around, but focus on the details that matter to that character. Like, if they just met, what are the top 3 things that stand out to them? If they have been together for 15 years, is there something that is different about them that has not been there for the last 15 years? There are a lot of different ways that you can play around with this. But once you have, then I want you to write out a scene, whether it's from one character's perspective, you can go crazy and do both perspectives of the same scene. But write the moment where they fell in love. It could be the character falling in love for the very first time. It could be these two characters falling in love for the very first time. Whatever that moment is that made one or both of your characters fall in love, that's what you want to focus on. Excuse me. It would be ideal for you to use the perspective that you used at the beginning, the one from each character's perspective, to use that to write the scene. But if you want to use the exercises like separately and, do whatever you want. There's so many different ways to write. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but the essential idea is finding two characters, writing about the perspective of one from the perspective of the other, and then writing a scene about when they fell in love. And I want you to focus on how they feel internally, externally, physically, emotionally, how their thoughts change when this person comes into their life. Like if they're usually a grumpy individual, do they perk up? Are they softer when they're around this person? If they're usually more rigid, are they more loose than they are with other characters? How attached are they to each other? Like if one person leaves the room, is the other going to be pining for them until they get back? I have characters like that. If my characters that fell in love are far apart from each other for too long, they're going to start feeling physical pain, because that's how I wrote them. So again, million different ways you can approach this. But as a bonus, write a scene where they go to the point of no return. And that can either be their first kiss, the first time they hold hands, because we saw that when Wade and Ember touched, that was like very point of no return-y kind of feelings, even though she kind of like backtracked after that. But whatever intimate moment that would give your characters that feeling of the point of no return for their relationship at bare minimum, or if you want to tie it to the entire plot line of the point of no return, that is cool too. But take your time to explore what that means to cross that line for those characters, whether it is individually or as their relationship, because their relationship can include a bunch of outside parties depending on the story. Like Romeo and Juliet, yes, we know Romeo and Juliet, but there was like 1,001,000 other people in that story, and that's a tragedy, so we ain't even gonna get into that. But yeah, we did it. That's it. That's all I had to say about. There are a lot of things that I hope to talk about throughout the year. I plan to do one of these a month. Like I said, this was the pilot episode, so I am not sure how long we have been together, but it is probably a lot longer than I initially intended. But if you guys are interested in more stuff and things about writing, not necessarily specifically about writing romance, but writing in general, please come to Storyteller Planet. We would love to have you. If you support us for $1 a month, you get exclusive content. And why it's only $1 is because I like the value of $1. I miss when $1 could give you 1,000,001 things, like this dollar can. And it gives you access to a bunch of things you can look at your leisure. But what I want to come on here and actually show you is the Mythical Manuscript Guild, which is free. You don't gotta sign up for much other than like, a free account on the site, obviously. But you are free to come and see all the goodness that we talk about writing, we talk about poetry, we talk about kind of whatever the heck we feel like talking about. But it is a safe space for writers, and I hope to grow it over the year. So come on by, and yeah, that is all I have for today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and wish you all a fantastic day, because like I said, there is no lighting here. We're looking a little crazy, but we're coming with peace and love. And I am so happy that you guys joined for this pilot episode of Homework Help. And I will see you on the next one. Love you guys. Bye.